I got to start this one out telling you a little bit of the past history. A buddy of mine, a couple buddies of mine, one buddy of mine inherited a Jeep. This is like a 50 some model, 1951, I think, Willy's Jeep. And him and another one of my buddies, they said, well, we're going to restore this Jeep. We're going to fix this thing. I kind of figured they just wanted something to stand around while they were drinking beer, but they took the Jeep apart, tore it clear down. They brought me the frame, and the frame needed a lot of work. There was a lot of shoddy welding on the frame, and I've actually got YouTube videos that are unlisted of the frame before and after I worked on it. I don't usually take the time to look up stuff and put links in the description, but I might on this one just to get all these videos together. But they brought me the frame, and just about everything that had to do with the suspension components going on and off of it, that stuff had to be cut off and replaced. I cut that stuff off. There was a bunch of shoddy welding, gobs of farmer flux core that I remember gouging that off and re-welding it. I rebuilt the rear bumper, removed the front bumper, and I think they bought one of those. There was just a bunch of work that I did on the frame. Later in the project, as they continued to work on it, they brought me stuff. And there is a listed video on YouTube of a very short video, 40 seconds maybe, of when I disassembled one of the hub assemblies. There was a spindle. Obviously, it had been together since 1951 or whatever. It was stuck. David put a puller on it. They had been, Dustin and Dave had been working on it with a 3-jaw puller, and couldn't get it apart. And they brought it to me to get it apart, and I used a torch and I took video of that. And that was, the video's called Wait For It. It's well over 1,000 views now, and it was cool because the puller had some tension on it, and I put the heat to it, and when it came apart, it flew apart. Like the freaking thing shot across the shop. It was pretty cool. I might put that in just there's a possibly I could find the 2 unlisted frame videos and put those links in the description, and then I could put the link for the Wait For It video in the description. There were some other parts. I think there was some busted or stripped studs, wheel studs. They brought some parts out, and I had to get those apart with a little heat and welding. But anyway, what I'm getting at, we had done several things, and you know, I didn't know. I think if I think the amount of time since I worked on the frame, that was probably 9 months ago. So these guys been tinkering on this thing on the weekends and stuff. Dave and Dustin, and they've been working on it over at Dave's garage, and they had it to a painter. And just let me show you. This is you're gonna have to look at this. This thing's crazy, right? I mean, it's just cool. This thing, and it's so tiny. Guys, side by sides are bigger than this now. He's got the Pickens, West Virginia, and then on the other side, Helvetia. But the thing, it's just, man, this thing's neat. It is. It's just really, really neat. this tag in here. I like the tag. Willy's Motors Incorporated. 1/4 ton 4-wheel drive Jeep. Toledo, Ohio, USA. So she's a 3-speed with high and low. So the question is, I guess, why is it back? All right. Obviously, you can see they don't have any shift knobs on it. Look what he got for me to make shift knobs with. So we're going to have this on the 3-speed. I think it'd probably be better this way. Yeah, we're going to have grenades. One on the 3-speed, one on the 4-wheel drive, and one on the high-low. So I got to figure out how to get those on there. The next thing he's wanting me to get involved in and do is a spare tire rack, and he wants it back here. He's talking about putting a jerry can over on this side and in the spare tire right here. And we were talking about different things about it, and one of the things he mentioned is he doesn't think he's ever going to put this tailgate down. For his plan, as far as, I mean, like, people are going to ride. He's not thinking of like hauling firewood or something in the back of it where you would have the idea of actually using the tailgate. So I'm probably going to use the tailgate brackets to connect the top of the spare tire to. And the reason why I thought of that is because it's something that I can connect to, where I'm thinking of making a spare tire rack that, when instead of it hinging and having to permanently fasten something to something here, I'm thinking of having some pins that go down in the existing holes in the bumper, and then a pin that goes through here holding the top, and then you got a hold of the bottom and the top, and then if you wanted to put the tailgate down or take the spare tire rack off, you just slide the pin out and lift it off there, because it's 30-inch tire. It's not like, it's not a tractor tire. It's not going to be hard to manage. But look at this thing, man. Isn't this cool? All right, so I'm going to get going on what I'm supposed to do to this thing. I just wanted to get some shots of it and tell a story. So we'll see how this goes. Started out taking a look at these shifters where we're going to put these grenades on here. And he was wanting this grenade like this way. And these other grenades would be like this way for the 4-wheel drive and for the high and low. And the 4-wheel drive and the high and low, those are threaded. And I've already found out that this is a 5/16 fine thread on this. And so I got some 5/16 stainless steel nuts I could weld on there. I'm going to try and weld them onto the grenades. And on this one, I was wondering, like, this one didn't have any threads, but it was tapered. So I went through my tap and die set, and it looks like this is going to work out pretty good at a 3/8/16. And even though it's tapered, it's threading okay. I put a welding shirt under there at first to catch all those metal shavings. It cut decent threads there. So on this one, I'm going to drill it and tap it at a 3/8 16 thread and see how that works. And on these other two, I'm just going to try and weld that nut to the bottom of there and see if that works. Miss Diane, she's checking out the Jeep. I think she likes it. You like the Jeep, Miss Diane? She wants to go Jeeping. You want to go Jeeping, sweetheart? Maybe later. We got to work on it for now. I drilled a pilot hole in this one with the small drill. And now I'm stepping up to the 5/16 that I need in order to tap this. And when I drilled that pilot hole, it showed that this is a gray cast. I'm a little bit concerned about welding those nuts on the other two because this is not, I just don't think this is a very good. Judging by the shavings that produced drilling that, I don't know if this stuff's gonna weld worth a damn. Those other two that we're gonna need to weld, I don't know. I'm gonna think about it. I drilled and tapped that grenade, and the thing is that this grenade, the steel's not very thick. It's less than a nut. I'd say about 3/16. And I'm kind of wondering if I can weld that stuff very good, because the way we're going to position those other two, I do need to weld because there's a hole in the bottom of them where we need threads. And what it's making me think of, I'm going to try putting this nut right here and welding this nut onto this one. That would give this one more threads if I can do that successfully. And it's a little bit of a test to see how this stuff welds, because if this one doesn't hold as much, it's probably not the end of the world because I've got some threads there. Gotta watch when you're welding nuts, the way they'll warp. They can jam right up on you. I've still got a space where I can see the end of that bolt. I don't know if you can. See that tack right there? That tack's cracked. but it cracked in the center. It's not cracking away from the... It's not necessarily cracking away from the grenade. This is acting like I can probably weld this stuff good enough for a shifter. Want to show you what I come up with on these shifters. For the four-wheel drive and the high and low, I welded that nut in there. This one and this one, you know, had the hole at the bottom, and the nut is welded where the hole was in the bottom of it, because it's hollow. So the stud or the bolt is going right up inside of there, and that nut's welded on there. On this one, that for the 3-speed shifter, this is tapped, got the nut welded on also, so that gives a lot more thread. And what I believe this material is, I think it is what you would call ductile iron. It's not real good stuff to weld, but for this purpose, I think it's going to work. I think it's going to be fine. I like this a lot better than that. And the reason I say that I like this better, I think you got more strength here because I've got threads tapped in the grenade and I've got a nut welded. So that's a lot of thread there, and we're not completely counting on the weld here because I do have threads tapped in the grenade. On these, we're really counting on the weld. And you wouldn't, on ductile iron, if you don't know what ductile iron is, the one thing I'm thinking of that would be ductile iron is some of the pipe fittings that you buy. If you run to Lowe's and you buy some cheap, like a pipe coupler that is a bell for, say, to thread a 1-inch pipe to a 1 1/4-inch pipe. A lot of those are ductile iron. It's not a material that's made to weld. But the thing that's going to save me on this shifter right here and this shifter right here, it's not a thing you're going to handle a whole lot. You get, you know, you're high, you're low. You're 4-wheel drive, you're 2-wheel drive. It's not something that you're going to handle as much as this one. You're going to be first, second, third, reverse, constantly using this one. So I'm glad that we've got this one the way we've got it. The other thing I did, I clear coated these. He said something about painting them, and I was thinking, you know, I'd go ahead and paint them because I want to put them on there, and I want to put some stuff on the threads, Loctite or something, and make sure that I feel comfortable with the way they're installed. And I thought, well, if I'm going to go ahead and install them, then I've got to paint them. And when I thought about painting them, you know, would you do them green? Would you do them black? I wanted to clear coat them because I want them to just look like a grenade. And I like the way they look. The ductile iron has a bit of a green look to it. And with the clear enamel that I've put on here, it should keep them from rusting for quite a while. So I'm going to put these together and get them installed, and then should be done with this part of it. I'm pretty happy with this deal with these shifters. I don't think that could have turned out any better. I like the clear enamel look on it. The positioning is worked out. Yeah, That's a done deal. We're moving on to the spare tire. A few of my first ideas on this spare tire rack. He's wanting it in this area right here. I'm definitely gonna have some kind of a connection down here on this rear bumper off to the right. And something needs to be connected up here, and I don't want to drill any holes in this Jeep. I want to use whatever I can to connect it existing. And he's saying he doesn't think he'll ever put the tailgate down, and I completely believe that. I think the best thing up here to fasten to without drilling any holes is going to be these brackets for the tailgate. So my idea is to run a rod from here all the way across through here that fastens, and that rod would be something you could slide completely out and take this thing off, and it would be just like what you're looking at now without any modifications to the Jeep itself. That rod could go inside of a sleeve that would go inside from the inside of this bracket to the inside of that bracket, and that sleeve could be welded to the spare tire rack with your tire up here and a bracket that goes down to there. I'll put a nut on the other side to hold it, but this side I think I'm gonna make like a turn, 290-degree bends. So this rod, I'm thinking of it a short piece, 1.5 inches or so going into this hole, coming out, bending up, and the rest of it going through that hole. And in order to do that, the first thing I'm going to have to do is bend that section that's like this on the end of my rod. If I use a 5/16 rod, that fits in that hole great. It's going to be a little bit loose in that hole because that one's bigger than that one. A 5/16 rod goes into a 1/4-inch pipe and fits pretty good. And a 1/4-inch pipe fits into a 1/2-inch pipe pretty good. And this right here is about the diameter of 1/2-inch pipe. So if I had a 1/2-inch pipe running across there, it would kind of match that size-wise. Those are just things I'm thinking of. But this is 1 inch wide right here. And if I was thinking of an inside measure, about 1 inch is what I would want for that bent piece. So I got a piece of scrap 1-inch tubing, and that's what I'm going to bend this rod with. Five-sixteenths threaded rod goes all the way through here, through these tailgate brackets now. It's going inside of a 1/4-inch pipe. That 1/4-inch pipe has got a 1/2-inch pipe welded over top of it. It's welded at each end. There's plug weld in the middle. Next thing's going to be putting something right here to hold the spare tire right there. And I've been thinking all along about doing that with a piece of channel. So I pulled the wheel off, took a measurement of 2 of the bolt holes, put that spacing right here. So I can have my tire on that. I'm going to put the tire on that. And I like this channel. The width of the channel gives me the distance pretty nice for the holes. Problem is, this channel is way heavier than what we need. It's everything about it's the right shape, and I think the solution to that is putting that wheel up on there, putting that tire up on there, and then seeing what we can cut out of this. You know, I could cut a lot of metal out of here and take a lot of weight off this thing. So that's up next. rubber grommet on the other side I put in there doesn't fit, so it's nice and tight. Tried to put another rubber washer in there, and it's so tight it didn't fit. So the only sounds like the only movement we got now is we haven't put the nut on the bolt at the bottom yet. Oh yeah. Tighten that up. I'm loving it. I like that so much I wish I could leave it on there. But we don't actually have the spare yet. It's going to be just exactly like this. But I can't leave that there. I'll have to put it back on the Jeep to get us rolling again. But I believe that's it for this one. I don't think I'm going to paint this for him. Not at this time anyway. He had talked about, he had also ordered a jerry can, and I don't know if the jerry can needs to fasten to this part that I'm leaving here, or exactly how that's going to work out, but we might have to do something similar on the jerry can, or maybe it comes with a bracket. I don't know, but I'm calling this one done for now. I'm going to take that back off the back of there and put it back on the Jeep, get us a rolling again, and this one's done.